Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about map 8. Whether we like it or not, this thing is coming to the contest as soon as this week even. And if you're currently running, top map 7 type stuff, you're probably going to be transitioning to map 8. And from what I can tell, people are looking forward to the rewards. I think people are a little bit looking forward to the fresh start with AQ and a different map. But at the same time, if you're an officer, you probably have been procrastinating trying to plan this thing just because we're in the middle of a war season, and who wants to be doing this the week before Thanksgiving, trying to figure out all these new paths and everything. But I will say, compared to when map 7 came out, we actually have a lot more information. We basically know all the nodes and the layout, and there's only one map, so we don't have to wait to see which of the 3 maps it's going to be. And I do think, relatively speaking, to when map 7 came out and the state of the game then versus map 8 coming out today, it will land a little easier than map 7 originally did. If you remember, map 7 was a bit of a nightmare when it first came out and required lots of tweaks over years really to get into the state that it is now, so that it's a little bit more accessible. So I took a little bit of time to create this spreadsheet. And I will say I want to give a big shout out to my friend and fellow officer Cesar Söze, who we've been playing together for like 18 months now or so. And the layout of this is a direct copy of his very famous map 7 spreadsheet. So I just loved the way that this thing looked, and with these columns and the colors and everything. So I basically stole the design and then just input everything new and added a couple little tips and tricks throughout. Other huge shout out is to community member Cat Murdock. I think many of you know her, but she put together these beautiful looking maps and infographics. Kabam told you the names of all the nodes and the champions, and then there was a separate PDF that was like a very ugly looking grid design, and she took the step of melding those two together to get this really beautiful layout. And I know for me personally, being kind of like a visual learner type person, seeing this really made planning so much easier. So I'm going to link her Twitter and her Etsy store as well. A really good way that you can support Kat is by purchasing some of her artwork or her keychains and stickers and things like that from her Etsy. She does all of this for free for us and is really a gem in the community. I just went ahead and bought an Elsa Bloodstone keychain as my little tiny thank you to Kat for everything she's done for the community. But yeah, these things just look absolutely fantastic, and I will be referencing them today as well. So before we get started with the spreadsheet, I do want to kind of just go over the general structure of the map. The thing you need to know is that there are specific lanes that have an identity, and then there are these shared fights that usually occur right before or right after the main lane, which multiple people can get to, and they generally have easier nodes related to them. So we're just going to take a look at the path 1 and path 2 people today for an example. And as you can see on the left there's an eye Hulk and a hood. So presumably the path 1 guy will take eye Hulk, the path 2 guy will take hood, and then either of them can take Green Goblin, and then they get started on their lanes. You'll notice there's a little dot above Elsa Bloodstone and above Reed Richards. Those right there mean that you get a crossfight that helps you tackle the node. So this is going to be something that benefits a specific class or type of champion, and it's going to last for the original fight, like the Mr. Fantastic himself, and then also the rest of the fights on the path. So like 4 times basically. And this is only going to apply to one champion, which I don't love that structure. Essentially what they're trying to do is be like, pick one counter for this whole lane, and you're really encouraged to clear it with just one champion. And that can be good, but I just know from personal experience, sometimes it's nice to have a team and, share them on finishing the lane. So it would have kind of been nice if these benefits from the crossfits were just native to the nodes themselves. But the way it works is they're going to get assigned to one champion, and then you'll see they converge again on that long shot. And then again, these are shared fights. And then on the Green Goblin, there's a red dot, which is a boss killer type pickup. And this is going to help somebody take on the Nimrod mini boss just for that one fight. So essentially, Nimrod is going to have a little bit of annoying stuff to him, but what we're planning on doing is using a rank 3 Medusa. And this Medusa player is going to go and make sure that he picks up one of these cross fights from either Luke Cage or Unstoppable Colossus or Red Goblin, and then make his way over to Nimrod. So that's sort of like the general structure of what you need to know. There are cross fights on the paths. There are cross fights for the bosses. There's only 7 lanes in section 1. In section 2, it's the same idea, only you pretty much start like right on the lane in general. And then you meet in the middle again. There's only 2 boss pickups in the middle. There are 10 lanes, so this will be 1 summoner per lane, no backup. And then in section 3, we have 8 paths, so that allows you to share lanes a couple times or have a true backup. And then you'll see at the end there are 3 boss pickups as well as all the shared fights, and there are 2 bosses. So there's this Spider-Man and then there's this Penny Parker. So you will need to have this summoner who is most likely going to get the first shot at Penny do one of the lanes toward the right of the map, and then you're going to want whoever's going to get the first shot at Spider-Man to go on the left side of the map. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over the general structure, the only other thing I wanted to just harp on one more time is like they did double lane identities a couple times. So for example, like lane 1 is the same in section 1 and in section 2, even though it has different defenders. It has the same identity there. You can see it has like Schadenfreude and Combat Deja Vu and Short Burst Lockdown. So I think what they wanted you to do is bring like one champ to counter lane 1 and 2, so then that person could have a boss killer. But like I said, I really don't love the idea of one champ clearing an entire lane and then not using the rest of your team. So when I do the planning, I am going to really be looking at people's rosters, and they may not take the same lane as another one. It might be better to kind of share them around. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a huge fan of like use one champ for the whole quest, and that's the last time I'm going to say that, but it is one of my kind of pet peeves about this design. So anyway, next up we're going to go into the spreadsheet itself. And the way this works is it tells you the path. You know, there are 7 paths here in section 1. I wrote the nodes down, then you can write the player name there. I kind of give like a basic description of what's going on in the node, and then I suggest some counters based on the cross fights that they apply. Sometimes it's like literally anyone can take the node, and sometimes it's like you definitely need a skill champ. And then also, as I mentioned, there are all these shared nodes that come before the lanes themselves, and I just sort of wrote it's good to know that these exist. These are the nodes on the shared paths. So you just need to really kind of be careful, especially when there's something like this like pull and right back at it and flux dispersal. I'm actually, of all the shared fights, that's the one I'm the most worried about. Let's just really quickly look at it. Like that Murdock and that Hit Monkey at the top right next to Nimrod there, those have those nodes, which flux dispersal plus pull and the node that makes them go debuff immune actually sounds a little difficult. But aside from that one, I don't think any of these shared fights really have too much difficulty associated with them and can kind of be taken by anybody. So that's why I put these shared fights all the way on the right, because it's kind of the last thing you want to consider. You mostly want to be looking at these counters using the cross fights. So let's just take an example here, looking at node number 1. Schadenfreude doesn't really matter. It just gives them more attack when you debuff them. I would still freely debuff them and not worry about it. It's a non-stacking fury. The Combat Deja Vu is a little annoying. If it's like Mixmaster, if you do the same hit twice in a row, they're going to go unblockable for a little bit, so you have to count your combos. And then Short Burst Lockdown is heal block and armor break when they throw a special. So that is something that you can probably deal with fine. And then looking at the defenders, it's like, you know, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Overseer. So obviously there's some science champions that are going to be putting other debuffs on you and things like that. But the cool thing is we look at the suggested counters here. There is a crossfight, which this is also Cat's graphic. The crossfight is called Visionary. And essentially when you purify a debuff, as you can see on the bottom left there, then you gain a benefit to basically, you know, deal with the unblockable is essentially what that does. So really what they're encouraging you to do is to use a skill champion who can purify 9 damaging debuffs. So like, obviously I'm going to say Elsa Bloodstone, but you know, she's definitely not the only or the best. Like Mole Man, Crossbones, even Nick Fury with knocking them down would be a really good counter for this lane. And it's mostly science champions. So they really are building up ways for you to counter some of these things. We can see here, like, I had no idea what, for example, hard head was. Like, I didn't remember what that node was. So again, I kind of wrote a little description for you. Basically, it's like stunning reflection. When you stun, it's going to go back to you. And then there's another thing. They will go unblockable after specials, but this can be prevented by a shock effect. So again, I kind of wanted to highlight that. They're encouraging you to use shock. So what if we chose a champ who is like, has shock, like Dr. Doom or Black Widow or Nebula would be excellent. And additionally, the crossfight here, I can just tell you this from memory, it actually helps you counter some of the stunning reflection. It makes you stun immune when you shock them. So again, like, if you weren't planning, you might just be like, oh, send Corvus or Hercules and it's going to be fine. But if you use the crossfight and you bring a champ that has shock, then you're going to not only be able to stop the unblockable specials right here, but you're also going to be able to counter hard head because you're going to be stun immune. So you can essentially either stun them or, you know, it'll just not reflect back to you, which is very nice. So I'm not going to go over every single lane here, but there is another one I kind of want to point out to you because I'm thinking of myself for this lane, and it's this path 10 over here, which these nodes like all by themselves seem super annoying, right? Delirium, that means reverse controls unless if you're a robot, or psychic shielding under pressure. That means you're going to get disorient, which is lots of block damage and your parries can fail. And then mighty charge, and it's the annoying mighty charge where they also go unstoppable. So yeah, not a fun combo, right? So yeah, and as I said here, reverse controls except robots. So I highlighted that so that you're thinking these are the types of champs I want. But there is a benefit to robots, and I didn't write the thing here, but essentially it's called Interceptor. And let's see if we can find it on the crossfight sheets. Where is it? There was one called Interceptor. I guess she didn't. Oh, there it is. Interception, where essentially if you're a robot and you dash in to intercept, then it's going to stop unstoppable from happening, which means if you bring in Ultron or Warlock or something, you can basically intercept mighty charge as much as you want, and it's not going to be a problem at all. Sorry, the phone's ringing there. We'll answer that later. Yeah, so anyway, just looking at this, they're really giving you ways to be able to combat these nodes. And it's really important for you to take a look at all of that. Okay, so moving on to section 3, this path looks super annoying. It's basically safeguard and super masochism. And as far as I can tell, the cross fights are not going to do too much to help you here. I would just really recommend using Apocalypse, because he's really good at countering that. That one definitely looks pretty annoying. This lane here is Atomic Overclock, which means only Science and Tech champions have full attack. And then it also has a thing where they gain armor, and it also has Encroaching Stun. So that one doesn't look too fun as well. There's definitely some annoying nodes. I think that same one is repeated here. Where let's look at section 2, path 6 really quick, because this one kind of caught my eye. You've got King Groot. I think Diablo is under my head, and then King Groot, and then Sasquatch. So there's like an Encroaching Stun Sasquatch here, which is like, oh, Torch would be great there, but like, are you gonna be able to send a Torch because he might be needed for Alliance War? These are the things going through my head in terms of like who we're gonna send where, and it is a little complicated. But I did kind of want to hope that this spreadsheet can help people. Again, we look all the way on the far right. These are just some of the shared nodes, and then we have the suggestions over here. And then at the very bottom, I have a little chart for you to fill out. So you could be like, you know, DLL to be over here, and we want him to use, who's he going to use? Masacre, right? And Venom Pool, like his two favorite champs that don't always make the war teams. And then, oh, well, he has Venom Pool, so we're going to want him to be the Penny boss pickup. So we'll just make a note over there. And it's like, okay, now we know when he goes up, he's going to get that boss killer pre-fight and be able to take Penny and all that. And then I also put this little notes section here. So, you can say like so-and-so needs Corvus charges, or so-and-so needs to charge Apocalypse, or like this shared fight is a Mangog and it's really annoying, so we want so-and-so to take it. So I really think if you utilize this, you might be in pretty good shape to get your plan started. So I did want to just briefly transition to the bosses. I do have a tab on the bottom of the spreadsheet. I'll just show you real quick down here. You can toggle between main map and the mini boss nodes. These I just directly copied off of the spreadsheet that Kabam gave us. And, I'm less worried about the bosses than I am the lanes, because, when you have, 10 summoners who have made it to the end, like you're probably going to be able to get the boss down, just beating them down. And there doesn't seem to be any like crazy regen or anything that's going to prevent you from getting a boss down. So again, I'm less worried about that. The more chance of you to get like an iteming out situation on a lane is a little bit greater. But see, with Nimrod, we have personal space, we have bubble shield. Those are just kind of playing around nodes. They're not the end of the world. Then we also have use it or lose it for the second Nimrod. So that means you have to like use your specials early on. And then you do get these boss killer cross fights, which I'm not going to really go into, because like you can get two or three people to pick these up. And like I said, we're going to have a Medusa for the Nimrods. And my thing is going to be like that guy, who it's Tafre, like spoiler alert. He's gonna have to get the crossfight no matter what, because I want to give him first shot. But if for some reason Medusa dies or he doesn't play well, then there will be two other people who might be available at that time to take it. And then for the final boss, the Spider-Man, he's pretty easy to fight, but the node combination is going to be kind of annoying. It has Mercy, which is the one where you have to dex a few times and then parry in order to get off any damage. So that's a bit of a play around node. I know that Archangel was sort of my go-to in Act 7 for this node, because he can turn it off if you dash back and parry and then get the neuros going. He can evade, he can gain power, he has ticking time bombs, so you can't be parrying too much without countering with his block. So it could be a little annoying. And I'm seeing here with Penny Parker, she has Conflictor, which is seriously one of my least favorite nodes, but also Heavy Assault. So that is a benefit to the player. If you're able to get the shield down, then you can start using your heavy attacks for big damage, which is always nice. So yeah, again, I'm not too worried about the bosses, but I did include these on the spreadsheet just so that you have a reference when you're planning. But anyway, that's going to be about it. And I do want to just say this is going to be linked in the description as sort of a read-only version. So you can certainly view it and then copy it and put it into your own Excel or your own Google Sheets. I'm more than happy to share this with people and make other people's lives easier. If your brain kind of works this way and this looks like it's going to help you, by all means use it. If it doesn't, and you create your own system, absolutely, that's fine as well. I would just ask, if you do share it, if you could just kind of keep my name and YouTube channel on the top and just let people know where you saw this video and steer them in my direction. That would be a huge help to the channel as well. So anyway, good luck with your map 8 planning. I'm about halfway done, and we're going to kind of review it with the other officers. And I will say it's not that bad. It's annoying, and it's going to take a while for us to get used to it. And I'm sure I made some mistakes and people are going to be cursing at me. But overall, it's not that bad. Really thanks to Cat, and also thanks to Kabam for giving us the information, because having the lead time to plan this is really, really essential for the success of this event. Like, I would not want to be checking my phone at 3 p.m., looking at the map, writing down all the nodes, scrambling to get people in there, and we're in the middle of the war season. That would not be fun. So they gave us a little bit of lead time here, which I really appreciate. And yeah, hopefully it's not that bad. I'm a little nervous, given the way V8 was when it first came out. There were some definite pain points, and I'm sure there will be some of those in this, but overall it does seem like something that we are able to tackle, and it shouldn't be that bad. So anyway, thanks for checking it out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.